So I'm out here in my backyard and I am enjoying this spring weather. Listen how pretty it sounds out here. And I wanted to talk about what you can do when you are in the middle of an extreme emotional trigger. So I spoke with one of my clients this morning, and they had been triggered approximately a week ago, a few days ago, half a week to a week ago, and they had a horrible weekend where they cried all weekend and didn't want to get out of bed and just spiraled down into some deep depression. And what had happened was what I had recently talked about in one of my lives, which I'll leave the link down below, on how much of myself should I reveal and should I put out there, is she had made herself vulnerable in a situation where she just wanted to show some kindness to somebody that has been treating her with a lot of indifference, like ignoring her and acting like you don't matter anymore to me because they got offended by something, and so now they don't want anything to do with her. So first of all, I wanted to talk about that aspect of it in light of my live that I did on making yourself vulnerable to people, in that when she was having checks, like she wasn't sure if she should reach out to this person, but she wanted to, and when that person didn't respond, that's what set the triggers off. And she had asked somebody that she was close to, do you think I should do this? And they said, you just do what you would do. And that was good advice, and that, yeah, we want to just do us. But at the same time, when it's somebody that we have a lot of emotional instability with, or ties with, it could be an ex husband or wife, it could be a parent, or a ex-friend that you used to have, or a boss. It could be somebody that every time you think of them, there is an element of trigger going on just thinking about them in the situation. Those are ones that you don't want to throw caution to the wind. You want to heed every caution that you have. And it's to protect your heart and to protect your energy, because it ruined her whole weekend because she spiraled downwards. When you have a trigger that's got that much emotional tie to it, by the way, I'm drinking a smoothie. It was a blueberry smoothie, a power food I'm doing today. But when you have something that has that much emotional tie to it, and you get triggered in a deep way, what happens is there's roots that go down into these pre-recorded messages that we have identified with at some level inside. This is somebody that she had grown up with, and so she has a deep history with this person. She has a deep history with this person being mean to her at times, but also having a deep trauma bond with this person as well. So when she was triggered and she reached out, it went into all these messages such as, you don't matter, yeah, you're unimportant. You don't matter is probably the deepest wound most of us carry around, and that we're trying to compensate, overcome, and trying to prove to ourselves and to others that we do matter. And sometimes we don't even realize we're doing that, but a lot of people out there are trying to matter. And when you get down to the core of your wounds, when you work through them and you get down to the core, this is usually at the very core, is that you don't matter. You might as well not exist. And that is a very painful thing to feel. And I have a video that I would like you to watch, and it's about being treated with indifference, and it's another one I'll put beneath this, in the link beneath this video. But indifference is very, very cruel. It's a little different than our relationship is unhealthy, let's keep a distance there. but when I'm with you, I can still be respectful and kind, and you do matter in the world. I don't really carry that energy of, you know, F you kind of thing. You don't mean anything to me. You're not even worth my thought process kind of thing. That's a very mean way to treat another human being. And it is what the way, when you devalue life, that is the way you treat that. When you devalue, when slaves were devalued that way, it didn't matter if they cried, it didn't matter if they were torn from their families, it didn't matter. All that mattered to the slave trader and the slave traders of today, even it still goes on in the world. All that matters is that's a piece of property, but that person, that human, doesn't matter. It happens in the way people raise animals in order to feed the population, and devaluing the life of the animal. Now, I eat meat, so I'm not saying that this in a way to put my opinion out on that, but but we can raise animals in humane and respectful ways. We don't have to just treat them like they don't matter at all and put them in horrible conditions and make them suffer their whole lives and then slaughter them and then, you know, just to eat. We don't have to be gluttonous in the way we eat, and we can be thankful and very conscious that something has given its life for us to consume it. We see this in many things. In child abuse, you know, often the reason why there's abuse is because there's the attitude of, you're just a child, you don't matter. And so many ways that this plays out of, you don't matter. And those are some of the worst triggers that we get. And so when we sometimes don't even realize why we're so depressed. It may be something that triggered us a couple days ago, a few days ago, and it triggered us deeply, but we ran from it immediately. We were like, okay, I'm not gonna let that bug me, and blah, blah, blah. And we try to push it down because it was such a deep wound. And so we pushed it down, but then as we progressed in the week, there was more of this subconscious play. It triggered all those messages that are deep down inside of us, and those started to play up. Like, you don't matter, nobody cares about you, what you did was really wrong, nobody will ever forgive you, just whatever is playing behind the scenes of that trigger. And we start to get into this depression, and we start to spiral downwards, and other things start to happen, because once we start spiraling downwards, we go into a different energy level, and we start attracting that type of energy around us. And so more things happen. Like they say, when it rains, it pours. And that's why. It's because we're spiraling down to a whole different energy attraction now. And Abraham Hicks put it really well. And she said that if you have a car that's parked at the top of a hill, and the brake is let loose and it starts to go down the hill, if somebody gets behind it right away, they can hold it there while somebody jumps in and puts the brake on, and they can stop the momentum of that car going down. But if that car isn't stopped right away and it starts picking up momentum and it's going pretty fast down the hill, if somebody tries to then down the hill when it's coming down speed step in front of it, they're going to get clobbered, right? And that's what happens with a trigger. If we can get on top of it as soon as it happens, if we can say, wow, that just happened, look at that trigger, look at what I'm feeling, and separate ourselves from that emotion and not identify with it, and look at it and let it play through without judging it or putting other storylines to it. Because every time you add a storyline to a trigger, you add more momentum. So I learned that an emotion lasts for 90 seconds. So when you have a trigger and you have an emotion with it, that's going to last for 90 seconds. And if you can hold your attention away from you, separate from you, on that emotion, and not judge it and not add story to it, it'll dissipate. Look at it. Say, wow, look at that, what that just triggered in me, that old wound that used to be there. And just watch it. Don't tell a story about it. It'll dissipate. But what happens too often is because we're not really being that conscious about it, maybe we're busy about things and we're not really paying attention, is we start to tell these stories, and every storyline we add to it adds another 90 seconds of emotion, because it sets off another trigger, okay? So the example I gave her was like, if somebody cuts me off in the road and my first thing is, oh, you know, that triggers me. People don't pay attention, right? And if I could just stop that and just, wow, look at that, just triggered me, you know, and just look at that, wow, you know, and just acknowledge it and just sit with that emotion and separate it, and don't think about other judgments or stories to add to it. It'll eventually, I can almost laugh it off and move on. But if I think, I let that trigger hit me and I think, and then I start adding, okay, so I've got 90 seconds here, now I add that I hate going out in the world. Every time okay, that triggers something. Okay, that triggered emotion. I hate going out in the world. Every time I get on the roads, people act like a-holes. Now that just triggers something. I can never go anywhere and just enjoy myself. Now that just triggers something. And there's this whole storyline. And then we realize we might even go further. It can just compound and compound, because we might say, okay, here I am having a fit and I'm trying to keep my vibes high. I can never keep my vibes high. I'm a big failure. And it's just this spiral, right, that we go into. And so once we get that momentum, we're just going to have to realize that that momentum's gone. And there's only one thing you can do at that point, and that is to wait for the momentum to slow down, to become aware of that. I've been triggered. I've told a lot of stories. I've got to wait for this momentum to start to slow down, okay, and try not to add any more to it. Just watch what I've done, acknowledge what I've done, and as soon as you're able, do whatever you can to soothe the trigger, to soothe yourself, because you're already all, you know, just in all these deep emotions, and your mind's already all over the place. And if you've gone back down into deep depression, then you're probably going into the story of, Lana, I always end up here, my depression will never go away, I'll never be happy. You're compounding that. So I'm going to give you a couple ways to stop this. And the first thing is to remind yourself, I've been triggered. Say it out loud if you have to. Okay, I've been triggered. Even if you don't know where or when or how it began, just say, I've been triggered. And I'm feeling like, and say whatever you're feeling like, I'm feeling very depressed right now, and like life is never going to get better. But what I know and what I've learned is that emotions are temporary, and they're clouds that go, and there's always sunshine behind those clouds. And even though when you're in the storm it feels like this is the end of the world and the end of life as we know it, everything passes and changes again and shifts again, and the sun does come out again. So reminding yourself that. And then the next thing is, so it's acknowledging it. So and then this is an important step, okay? And you need to really say, it's okay, I've been triggered, and what I know is this is how I feel, and it's temporary. It's temporary. It doesn't feel like it right now, like it's going to be temporary. It feels like it's been the story of my life, but it is temporary. And I have had better days, and I will have better days. It will get better again. And just acknowledge it and tell yourself it's temporary. And then the next thing that's so vital is you've got to ask yourself, what do I need to start soothing myself right now? This is where you pull out the tools that you've been learning. And if you've been through my Genuine Self-Love course, you have a ton of, or even watched several of my videos, you have a ton of tools. So you start pulling out the tools that you've been learning to self-soothe. How can I soothe my emotions right now? It might be you need to tell everybody, I need a break. Take a couple hours to go and do your favorite thing of, maybe it's get a blanket, pop some popcorn, watch a funny movie. Maybe it's get out in nature, go somewhere alone where you can sit by the water and just let nature, you know, hold on a second. Perhaps it's calling a friend and saying, hey, you want to go out tonight? You know, I've been really triggered and I just feel like I need to get out. But whatever it is, you need to start finding ways to start to soothe the triggers, start to soothe the emotions. So just as if a child came in and they had been stung by a bee, you would need to immediately to reassure them, to acknowledge, wow, yeah, that probably hurts. Reassure them, this will get better. Everything will be okay. Here, let's take care of this. And then you take them in and you know, help them calm down, and you help them get the wound, you know, the stinger out, or put some ointment on it. And then you might get them a little popsicle, or put them in a blanket, or hold them and let them calm down, let them start to soothe. You need to think about that for yourself too. You've got to soothe yourself. Then when you start to soothe yourself, that's when you start slowing that momentum down again. That's when that momentum of going this way, it hits even kill level, and now on that place of being soothed, you can start to slowly go back up that spiral and start to bring those vibes up. Now, it's important to remember that for a while, and when I say a while, it could be a day or a couple days, or you might see things coming into your life that are reflecting that low energy still, because it's been put out there, and you've drawn some stuff toward you, and so you may see some things that are going to reflect that low energy. And so you just look at it and go, that's, instead of going, oh my gosh, life is just getting crappy for me now, just acknowledge, oh, that's where my energy was, and it's drawn that in, and that'll pass too. And I'll give an example. Just recently I went into kind of I allowed myself to go into this low vibe. I was with some people that I was able to do some venting, right, of some things that had been bothering me. And so I just had fun venting, you know, or just let it all out. But what happened was I got a lot of that energy, because I went to that low energy of going there, of all the things that are wrong in my life or whatever, you know. Because I allowed myself to go into that energy and to focus there, it brought in some waves of other things almost directly after that I recognized. I was like, okay, that's the result of me going there, allowing myself to sit in my bitchiness for a while and in my low vibes and just enjoy that for a while. Okay? Because sometimes we do kind of enjoy it in a kind of twisted way, to be able to vent and get things off our chest, right? But just know that when you do that, that you're going to have some waves of that energy that are going to flow into your life from that. It's the way the universe works, and there's no way around it. And so understand that even as you're kind of going back up that spiral, that there's going to be these waves of energy that come in from being in that lower vibration for a while. And just recognize them. When it happens, recognize them, say, okay, and ask yourself when it comes in, first say that's a blessing, because that shows me how powerful I am, how I have the ability and the power to really shape my life and shape my experience, and to really focus in a really high vibe, better life. And that's a manifestation of it there. To see when I shift my vibes, how it works, to really see my working on that, right? And then count the blessings. Try to find the blessings, in your life. Get your gratitude journal out, or just count your blessings out loud to yourself. I don't always write things down, Sometimes I just notice them, like right now I'm noticing in my yard there's a beautiful little dandelion, yellow dandelion, and we have these wild onions, and they are everywhere. They feel like they're taking over, at least this back part. But I am telling you, even so, they are beautiful, and you can pick them and put them in a soup or something. We have way too many for me to eat them all. You know, I've done it before, but I don't normally do that. But they have these little beautiful white flowers, and I don't know if you can see them. I'm gonna see if I can show you over behind me. There's an area back here, not by the table, all the way over here. Okay, under this tree, they're all growing in there. See, and they're so beautiful. They're starting to die down right now, but when they come up, they just look like a fairyland. And you know, that's a blessing to be able to see such beauty, such wild beauty, right? And the birds. I can count that as a blessing every day of my life right now, because that's my experience right now. So no matter what's going on out here, that's always there. That I can say, I can tune in, I can choose to tune into that. Choose to be present. I love the way Eckhart, I think it was Eckhart Tolle, he said, start noticing the quiet presence of everything around you. Tune into it. It could be the quiet presence of this chair that's holding me up right now, or the quiet presence of those flowers sitting in the grass. If you're in your house, of the pillows around you. Just the quiet presence that helps bring you into the now and take you out of worry for the future and, you know, rehashing things that have already happened. And they've already happened. Once they've happened, they've happened. There's nothing we can do about it to change it, right? Other than our focus and the story that we're allowing to continue to replay in our head on it. So again, I just want to recap really quick. When you have been triggered in a deep emotional way, acknowledge it, recognize it, allow yourself to sit with it without judgment. Stop the judgment, stop the storyline, whatever they are, the storylines. Recognize you're telling a storyline, sit with those storylines, and don't judge them. Say, oh wow, there's my storylines that I've been playing in my head for many years. There's an airplane going over. Then soothe yourself as much as you can. Ask, what do I need? What do I need to soothe myself? What do I need? How can I make myself feel a little bit better? Just even a little bit better. Maybe it's I'm gonna go get me a lot of people love a Starbucks, you know. It's cliche, who cares? Go get a Starbucks. If that really starts to make you feel pampered and soothed and better, whatever it is, start to soothe yourself. And then when you start to feel soothed, how can I feel even better? And just start adding to that and keep asking yourself, how could I feel, what could I do now to feel even better? And start to spiral again, back up. And anyways, I hope that's been helpful. I know that in spite of all the healing work we do, we all still get deeply triggered at times, and we need to have the tools to be able to keep ourselves from continuing to just spiral out of control, because that's no fun, you know, and we lose whole days and sometimes whole weeks and even longer, you know, if we don't know how to slow down the momentum, stop the momentum, and start spiraling, taking it back up the other way. Hope this has been helpful. Have a good day.